Hello and welcome to episode 32 of Newysports TV. I am Ty Stedman. Tonight we have a very lot to get through. It's Monday night, it's a bit different to my normal schedule. There's a flat-out weekend beginning on Saturday, which we're going to talk about Saturday, the NPL semi-finals, and of course yesterday, massive day in the New FM Grand Final. I've sort of lost my voice, so I don't know how good this video is going to be, but I hope to have highlights and stuff throughout if I get the time to edit. I don't know. I'm at TAFE all day tomorrow till 4:30, and then off to the FA Cup tomorrow night, Edgeworth and the Western Sydney Wanderers, so it makes it very difficult having a schedule like that. First of all, a big thank you, I guess a thank you and a big props to the Edgeworth Eagles Football Club for hosting indeed Saturday's games and Sunday. I think I'm not gonna lie. I sit down for a minute and I've already get a text message. I'm not gonna lie about Edgeworth. You know, I've been a bit outspoken a little bit about them hosting the grand final, but at the end of the day, they did a very wonderful job, and all weekend just very well ran, and met a couple people from behind the scenes there, so it's very good to work with Edgeworth over the last 2 days in, not work with, but work alongside Edgeworth, I guess, in these games, and it was a very good weekend out there at Jack McLaughlin Oval with a sprinkling of Darling Street action chucked in as well, which we're going to talk about, which was definitely the pinnacle of the weekend. Or maybe not the pinnacle, the grand final obviously takes the cake, but we'll go through it anyway. First things first, you might notice in the background here, we've changed it up here on Newysports. First of all, I've got a DC United shirt on, so that's just random. This came today, Leicester City, with the Champions badges on them. Those badges, I've had history of Premier League Championship badges falling off jerseys, particularly with Man City. Me being a City fan, I've got a lot of their shirts, and yeah, hopefully these badges don't fall off because, pay extra to get those put on. But in the background here we have the authentic Bell Swans banner from the grand final. This found its way back to the Fire Station Hotel with Wall's End. There was a picture taken, Wall's End holding that banner up, and bit of banter, I guess, but for the most part, Wall's End were very sportsmanlike yesterday, and indeed I'll probably return this to the club. I think they'll probably want it back. Bell Swans did leave their whole area. It's just deserted, absolute devastating fashion to lose in, but we'll talk about that soon. We'll get to the NPL stuff as well, as I just replied to a text message. That's unfortunate, but that's what happens sometimes. This is live. Well, it's not live, but I'm not going to stop it and restart it or anything like that. I can't be bothered doing that. Let's go through it. Enough crap. Let's go through it. Saturday, the NPL semi-finals. This is how it went down in the under-19s. It's not very often I get to talk about NPL under-19s. I did watch the grand final last year. I watched one of the semi-finals last year, Olympic and the Emerging Jets. And it was the Emerging Jets, well, that was an under-22s game, I think. But it was the Emerging Jets in action yesterday against, not yesterday, but Saturday against the Weston Bears, as expected. And, I've had someone say, you're comparing NPL and New FM. I only do that. I watch New FM every week. And look, I'm going to be quite honest, from the first 30 seconds this just blew anything that New FM 19s could produce out of the water. I will say there are players in the New FM 19s competition that could be playing at this level, but for a spectacle, for a game technical point of view, it's a much better competition, and that's probably across the board. But there's a few things I don't like about NPL, and it's not the technical quality. We'll leave it at that. Obviously the coverage of the NPL is vastly superior to that of the New FM, and that's why you know, I think NPL 19s, there's definitely potential there for Newysports. Indeed, I covered this and they were very appreciative of it. But, you know, Bar TV's got First Grade, the Herald, you know, all these different places. Northern New South Wales Football, obviously, have a keen eye on it. So, yeah, that's, you know, as expected, it was going to be a better game than what I've seen in the New FM division. Fast and aggressive, I'm going to say. That was probably the main thing. The skill, maybe, you know, there's New FM players with skills. Anyway, enough. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to compare New FM and NPL because it's two different things. We all know that. I just really don't like it when people say, you know, there's nothing in the New FM 19s. There definitely is. There's not as much talent, but there is talent there that filters through. And, you know, the rejects in the NPL trying to prove a point, and we'll talk about them later on in the NPL and the New FM 19s Grand Final review. Let's just get into it because I'm seriously just about to punch myself in the face for doing this. Weston looking dangerous early on. Liam Kulipak early on the left flank. Very impressive, and he'd become a recurring theme of the game. Their goalkeeper, Jed Horder, from start to finish was just... Well, first of all, the results. The Western Bears won, drawing the Emerging Jets 1 and progressing to the Grand Final 2-1 on aggregate. I think it was 2-1 on aggregate. So, yeah, that's the result. But, yeah, their goalkeeper was strong, start to finish. He would not stop yelling instructions, and again, I'm doing something I don't normally do. I'm going to write down the exact minute that I started this review, so then I don't have to go edit it later on. So yeah, Jed Horder, the goalkeeper for Western 19s, he was just I'm not going to say he wouldn't shut up, because, you know, his communication is vital, and like no goalkeeper I'd seen this year, really just non-stop at the back, and quality goalkeeper to boot as well. Both teams looked well structured, but it was Weston who were edging it over the Jets, I thought. The defensive line, especially the fullback Tristan Muir, they looked good across the park, that defensive line. In the 23rd minute, the Jets had a chance, the best chance of the opening half hour, Riley Smith putting it over the bar. The opener would come soon enough. 31st minute, some decent build-up work from Lucas Lambert. Saw a cross that was headed on by Liam Kulipak and finally put in by Matt Fogarty. Some great teamwork from Weston and a vital away goal to give them a 2-0 lead on aggregate and leaving the Jets needing 3 goals. In the second half, Weston, decent chance through Lachlan Yates in the 44th minute. Left a defender or two behind. Big for his age, and just powered through, had a left-footed shot that glanced the crossbar. The Jets surviving another scare that probably would have all but done it for them. In the 50th minute, Weston's Joel Barner had a chance one-on-one against Tristan Esquilant, I'm going to say. I might not be saying that right. The goal, I can't even say right. There we go. The goalkeeper for the Jets, lucky to see that one go agonisingly wide of the right post. 3 minutes later, it was the Jets who grabbed the lifeline. James Thompson's free kick glanced off the head of a Bears defender, and it was headed in by Jose Atayade? Hang on. Atayade. I don't know. He knows who he is. I'm not going to try and pronounce names in competitions. I don't know. I have enough problems doing the New FM names. Jose with the goal there. Good player too, the number 10 for the Emerging Jets. Weston threatened to put the game to the bed in the 67th minute. Lachlan Yates again smashing a shot towards goal, but it was again denied by the frame of the goal. He set himself well for the shot, but couldn't get it. The highlights might be here as well. This game was filmed, so I'm not sure how many Western 19s games have been filmed, but I think there was a few people up there filming, so I was downstairs where the action was. I like how close you are to the pitch at Edgeworth. 1-1 is how it would stay on the day. The Bears progressing 2-1 on aggregate. There it is. I couldn't remember for the life of me. The Emerging Jets brought a well-drilled and well-structured game plan. As expected, that program is, pretty, they're focused on what they do. I know there's a lot of people against that program, me being sort of one of them. But no, they look good. There's some handy players in that side, and out-muscled on the day, of course. But Weston doing the job. For the Jets, Jose Atayade, again pronunciations, their captain Tom Curran was probably their best on the day. For Weston, without doubt, the man of the match, Liam Kulipak, looked quality every single time he touched the ball. Wow, I mean, just a brilliant player to watch. And I've heard that he has played first grade there this season, so it doesn't surprise me. Still probably got some size, some growing to do, and can be a real force, I think, for Weston. A well fought match from both teams. Very good, entertaining match, and a quality performance from the Bears. They book a spot against Magic next week in the grand final, so really looking forward to that one. Definitely really enjoyed this game. I thought it was one of the best all weekend. The man of the match, Liam Kulipak, as I said, the second person behind him was Jed Horder, the goalkeeper for Weston, and Tristan Muir. I didn't give too many mentions, but he was also a very handy player, the number 6. Fairly physical as well. A lot of those Weston players, big, obviously got the age advantage on the Jets, but there's a few big players in that team, and look good, and they'll be very hard to beat next week. Okay, we move over to the under-22s now, which we're 11 and a half minutes in, so I'm just going to jot that down. And that annoys me because I'm writing down on a piece of paper, and the iPad I'm using here is a touch screen, so that's just gone completely off what I had to talk about. The under-22s, this is what happened. Broadmeadow Magic 3 defeated the Western Workers Bears 0. Magic were chasing a 2-0 deficit from the first leg. Some familiar faces here. I've obviously spent some time at Magic over the years, 2 or 3 seasons following that club, and indeed being their media sort of guy last year, doing interviews with the likes of Ben Higgins, who played in this team, Alex Kanarowski, Paulie on the bench. But yeah, Higgins' experience at the back. Yet again, like the 19s, both teams came out firing. Magic threatened through the first 15 minutes or so. Weston, I thought, were playing smart. They knew they were up 2-0. Didn't need to really risk too much with that aggregate advantage. Magic, on the other hand, obviously chasing goals from the get-go. That's the goal when you're 2-0 down. Michael Holt had a chance from range for Weston that would have made it practically impossible for Magic to come back. Their goalkeeper, James Ward, for the Bears, pulled off a delightful save to deny Magic. The host on the day, which was Magic, they'd take a lead. Adam Dugan scoring after a scramble in the box. Some push and shove afterwards fired both teams into action, and over the years I've been to Rockwell Automation Park a fair few times. I've watched Weston at Magic Park. Magic and Weston, nearly every game I've seen, mostly all first grade, of course. I don't normally, now I do, but back then I only went and watched first grade. Magic and Weston, there's a real sort of rivalry there, and every time, it gets a little bit heated, as it did here. On the stroke of half time, and I'm not going to lie, I was sitting down the far end of Edgeworth taking photos or whatnot. I went onto Facebook, Newysports Facebook, and I wrote the score. Half time, Magic 1, Weston 0. And then I walked around to the tunnel to sort of, I don't know, I think I was getting something prepared for first grade. I don't know what I was doing. Nonetheless, Magic would score again, so I had to go back and edit that post. That's what happens. It's happened a fair bit in UFM this year. Don't jump the gun and think that it's not going to be another goal right on the stroke of half time. This is what happened. Tyson Cummings got onto the end of a decent ball from the right winger and buried the chance well to make it Magic 2-2 on aggregate. All evened up at the break, and honestly a penalty shootout was not on the cards because there was obviously going to be more goals to come from either side. Weston threatened well through the early stages of the second half. An away goal would have been vital, but Magic, looking for a third, Paul Shawawi, I don't know how to say Paulie's last name. I know him as Paulie. Brilliant player, absolutely brilliant player, and I've been a fan of his for a few years, even back when I was sort of involved with Magic. sort of fringe first grader, obviously not in the starting team, but we'll be talking about him later on as well for the first grade game for Magic. His cross found Max Markey, who just missed the header, crucial miss. With the game on the line, Magic provided Tyson Cummings again, the key man up front, buried a one-on-one chance yet again, put Magic ahead. Weston came for that goal. You know, they needed to score, and if they did, that would have been an away goal. The Magicians held on to a 3-0 victory on the day and a 3-2 victory on aggregate. I've had someone say no, it wasn't, but I'm still going to say it was. I thought it was a poorly refereed game, and I had a few people there, neutral people, that agreed with me. Obviously, you know, my allegiances in the NPL have been at Magic. I'm not going to lie about that. I don't lie about my allegiances in UFM, which was Cooks Hill and will be Cahaiba next year. So, you know, but for both sides, I thought the refereeing was poor, and it did flare up a little bit, and I think some lenient refereeing can probably be blamed for that. As a whole, I thought the 19s and first grade games were better than this one. For Weston, some of their most impressive players included Connor Mason in the midfield. This guy looked good. And I think I've been told he did play some first grade this year as well. Weston obviously gave a lot of their younger players a go. Didn't have the best season up there at Rockwell Automation Park. The best on the day... I can't read my own writing. Connor Mason was their best, but the goalkeeper James Wand was also fairly strong. Magic standouts, Tyson Cummings, wow, he looked good. You know, I've been hearing about it. When I was at Magic, I used to open the program and I'd see under 17s or whatever it was, Tyson Cummings with 30 goals or something like that. Obviously becoming, he is a goal scorer, and he's quite, I don't know his exact age, I've got no idea, but he's quite, I imagine 17, 18, sort of there or thereabouts, and he's quite physical, got a decent build for that age, decent speed, and you know, whether he gets put into the first grade team, there's obviously some experience in there or whatnot, but he's definitely one to watch there at Magic. Defender Ben Higgins was strong as well. Man of the match though, Tyson Cummings with 3 points, with 2 Ben Higgins and with 1 Connor Mason from Weston. First grade, Edgeworth versus Maitland. Massive game for the Maitland Magpies. I didn't do my research like I did with Bell Swans, obviously their first grand final in 30 years. Maitland, you know, they've been in first division in UFM grand finals and whatnot, but I don't know the last time Maitland played in a state league grand final or NPL. So they were playing one of the biggest games in their history, and with guys like Matt Thompson and Dean Heffernan, and I don't, we'll talk about the game first. We'll come back to that point. I'm just going to jot that down there, and we'll talk about that after the game. And they couldn't be playing Edgeworth at a better time. Edgeworth's obviously playing Western Sydney tomorrow night. We're talking about a game that was 2 days ago now. As a result, Edgeworth had a couple players out. Kago Moriyasu, Aaron McLaughlin and Aidan Gardner all sitting on the bench. There was a couple others, but I see those three as real, especially McLaughlin and Moriyasu, and they're starting first graders, and Aidan Gardner is a brilliant player, and also Brody Taylor didn't even play at all, so one of Edgeworth's best players. That being said, the team they put out there on the field, Keanu Moore and Jim Fogarty in goals, just absolutely confident goalkeeper, some good defenders, good midfielders. I'm missing probably the most important name out there, Daniel McBreen. I mean, come on. It's still a fairly strong team that took the field. A physical opening, some fine play from both sides as they tried to get the upper hand. Not too many mentionable chances during the majority of the first half, I thought. But when the scoreboard ticked over to 1-0, it didn't take long for another goal to go in. The first goal, Edgeworth were given a free kick. Obviously, all these highlights are available up on Bar TV. Their coverage this weekend is brilliant, and they work very hard, those guys. And I didn't know it was just the same three that commentated all three games. And I didn't watch this game. I watched a bit of the end of the Magic game. I watched the entire New FM, 2.5 hours or whatever. I watched it today and listened to the commentary all the way through, and decent work done by these guys. So go back and watch it on Bar TV if you want to see these highlights. Edgeworth were given a free kick, and anyone in the ground. I was sitting up the far end. I could see a gap. Matthew Trott in goals for Maitland. He set the wall. He set the wall to protect the left side. He's gone over to the right side, and I could just see the left side was open. And if you could curl it around the wall, goalkeeper had no chance. I think it was poor goalkeeping. I might be being a little bit. I had a couple of people agree with me. One of them's a goalkeeper, so maybe I'm being a bit too harsh here. But Bren Hamill, take nothing away from the strike by Bren Hamill, very, very good. But I thought Trott, he's just caught in a cement block. I think he just knew that he was beaten well up. Probably not the best setup for defending a free kick from that position. Nonetheless, Maitland took no time to hit back. Ryan Clark, controversial player nonetheless. Well, not controversial player, but the last time I heard about Ryan Clark, he was playing in my all-age competition. So we all know that's in the past now, and there was all that garbage during the early part of the year, and let's not even go into that. But yeah, I've been hearing all year this Ryan Clark is one of their main players, so that's why they were very annoyed when he missed the first 8 weeks or whatever it was. He showed off his skill, but he practically toyed with the Edgeworth fullback. Broke free, found the head of Ben Martin at 1-1. A brilliant goal from the Maitland Magpies. Keanu Moore had a strike that hit the post that was Edgeworth's best chance for the remainder of the first half, but it was Maitland who threatened more, in my opinion. The second half saw the momentum turn around. Edgeworth took a firm grip. Daniel McBreen had a chance or two, was always causing trouble, McBreen. What a player he is. He's crossed Aiden Bryce. I think I spelled Aiden... No, I didn't spell Aiden Bryce's name wrong. Don't worry. Saw a chance go wasted for the Edgeworth number 5, and then a young Aiden Gardner. Lots of Aidens out there. Aiden Gardner, who I remember from the Magic days when I was there. He's just getting better and better each year. Missed a vital chance to seal a grand final spot, but then Maitland. They went to the other end. Matt Comerford, another player I remember from Magic. His delightful shot from range forced to save. And then the Magpies, they just threw everything they had, kitchen sink time, Route 1 stuff. Luck not on their side. Holes opened up at the back, and it was Edgeworth who'd win it. None other than coming off the bench for Damien Zane, Keigo Moriyasu, and the main man wins it. The Japanese import has, I think, been their best player this year. I'm not going to lie, I only normally see who scores the goal. I don't watch too many highlights. I don't really have too much time to do that. But I've seen some of Moriyasu's goals this year, and this guy's good, very, very good. And Damien Zane, bring him off the bench. That's, to risk not to start with him, but obviously bring him off the bench and he scores straight away. That's a Damien Zane style. And I had a good chat with Damien Zane before the game as well, which really enjoy what they're doing there at Edgeworth. A young side, and I think it's really refreshing. And then you look at, this is what I was going to talk about. You look at Maitland, and they've got Matt Thompson and Dean Heffernan, and other players. Obviously, Ryan Clark. There's several there at Maitland that they're probably the more experienced side on the day, but Edgeworth just got the job done. And on that, Maitland. I'm just looking at this lineup for Maitland. Just a very, very strong lineup. The Fortin brothers, Ryan Broadley, Matt Trott in goals. Just But you know, it's Matt Thompson and Dean Heffernan. Like, I think Maitland, they haven't bred success there. They've gone and they've got players together. It hasn't filtered up through the club, and I know that's probably going to piss a few people off, but I'm prepared to do that. Whereas you look at Edgeworth, obviously they've got Daniel McBreen, but for the majority, a lot of these players have come through 19s, 22s there. So that's not putting crap on Maitland, because you know there's other clubs that do that. You know, Magic sort of have done that in the past. There are clubs that just go and get players from elsewhere, and you know, Maitland, you know, in the 22s and the 19s did not have the best season. So I don't know what else to say about Maitland. Obviously, their first grade team's leading the way, but I think I don't know. I think that's just one of the, and it's the same at Edgeworth this year. All their lower teams they've had awful years, awful seasons in the lower grades. And you know, I'm not trying to be controversial here. I'm just stating the obvious. Maitland probably got to the semi-final on the back of those, you know, former A-League players and the class they have. And whereas Edgeworth yesterday, as I said, they had a lot of born and bred, well, not born, but you know, a lot of players who have come through 19s and 22s. I don't know, that might go down as controversial. I apologise if it does. I'm not trying to put crap on the Magpies. I really like what they've done this year, and it's refreshing to sort of see a different team there in the semi-finals. You know, Jaffa's obviously been there a fair few times over the last few years, so Maitland doing the job there, and they played well yesterday, and they were very unlucky not to get a result. Okay, we move on. First grade again. So that was the earlier games. Then it was over to Darling Street, and credit has to go to Northern New South Wales for this. Not everything they've done this year is, you know, I've agreed with, but this I certainly agreed with. Plenty of people agreed with this, having the staggered kickoff times and allowing the New FM Grand Final yesterday, I should say, 2,600 people there, and it didn't clash with the NPL. So I think that was a great idea, and it was good to see Northern sort of show that respect to the second tier. And on that, this game, I admit it, I was running late. I just had a quick, got home, had a quick tea, and then headed over to Darling Street, and got, you know, I could see the lights from down towards the other end of the race courses coming down Beaumont Street there. Got, you know, anyone who's been to Darling Street knows, you know, you go down, I think that is Darling Street, the road near the race course there, and then you can see the field obviously through the fence, and I think my jaw dropped at the sight of the crowd. I haven't been to Olympic all year, so I didn't realise they had the fence there now and had people on that side of the ground, but it looked absolutely packed. I don't know if anyone got an attendance number for that. I'd be saying 2,000 people were there last night, and this was absolutely brilliant. Goosebumps sort of stuff. You know, and I've done, you know, I've been in New FM all year. I've done some big games, I'm not going to lie, but nothing like this. And I've heard people say that it wasn't the most technical, pleasing game to watch, but by God, was it something. This was an event. Let's go through it. A mammoth vocal crowd. That's not just Olympic. Magic had hundreds of Magic fans, hundreds of Olympic fans, hundreds of neutrals. This was just a perfect night of football. Absolutely perfect. And I don't think, in my, you know, I've only been going to local football games for probably 4 or 5 years. I've never seen anything like this. Of course, I've been there, grand finals and stuff with 4,000 people or whatever. This under lights, you know, you got the canteens going off. There's, you know, smoke coming out of the canteen chimney or whatever, and, you know, fogging up the field because there's that many people going to the canteen. And the noise, the atmosphere, I could just talk about that, because the game, in my opinion, the game was almost a non-event compared to the atmosphere. I think the atmosphere made it what it was. Let's talk about the game anyway. James Virgili had an early chance that was denied by the post after Magic warded off some early Hamilton momentum. Hamilton, of course, chasing a 3-1 deficit from the first leg. And we'll move on. Fairly physical and fiery. You know, it's Olympic v Magic. I've been to enough Olympic Magic games to tell you that that's what happens every time. Big crowd getting into it. Hamilton, I thought they had a real in-your-face sort of attitude, and when I say that, I mean they were pressing high. They were pressing very, very high, not giving Magic any sort of time, just really trying to put them off. A physical style was evident all night. A few times there was fouls either way. That was always going to happen. I thought it was a fair fight nonetheless. I don't think either team played dirty. There were some challenges in, you know, wet field. There were some challenges that probably were a little bit overboard, but there was no malice, you know. This was a very hard-fought, passionate game between two real rivals. Simon Mooney was an outlet for Hamilton during the first half and would prove to be key in the second. Majority of the first half, I don't think there was too many chances either way. We talked about Virgili's chance early on, but there wasn't too many clear-cut chances in my mind. A late Peter Haynes header glancing the crossbar was one of the few vital chances. The game came to life in the second half. It was always going to. Grand final on the line. Simon Mooney scored Hamilton's first goal of the game. Their crowd went crazy. 2-3 on aggregate. And it was always going to be very interesting from there. Olympic would find the net again. I think it was one of the Swan brothers. But it was ruled offside. And I've heard a few people talk about this. I know that it was mentioned on Bar TV's coverage of New FM yesterday. I haven't seen a replay, so I'm probably going to have to go and try and find that. And I couldn't, for the life of me, I think I was at the other end anyway, so I can't really comment on the offside. A lot of people, I've heard a lot of people talk about it, and they said it was probably offside, but I haven't seen it, so I can't really comment too much. But that would have made it 3-3, and Olympic would have been up on away goals. Nonetheless, it wouldn't really affect them. At the end of the day, Magic would come out with the win, but I think if that had gone in, you know, if that hadn't been offside, then you might be looking at Olympic and Edgeworth in the grand final. Magic, at times, they were riding their luck, you know, edge of your seat sort of stuff. Josh Piddington and Luke Virgili in defence, and the goalkeeper Nick Harnett, very, very strong all game. With the game on the line, Olympic throwing players forward, Magic would strike with venom. Paulie Shawawi, I cannot say his last name. I heard someone pronounce it yesterday. I'm just going to say Paulie. He is Paulie to me. He'll always be Paulie. He took off with the ball and found a free. Cale Bradbury. And unlike an earlier chance that Cale Bradbury, he got into the box and he's gone to shoot, he's faked it, and he's just take the damn shot. This time he did, and it went in, and the scenes, absolute scenes. You couldn't really see it on Bar TV, their footage being from the grandstand. I was over that side of the field, and you know, the Magic players have jumped the fence, and I think they were celebrating with Rob Virgili, of course, the co-coach that was sent off last week. You don't see stuff like this in local football. Amazing, absolutely amazing, the celebrations there. And you know, just moments earlier, Olympic were all over them, and you know, you got the whole crowd chanting Olympic, 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 and they've just gone silent, and all you can hear now is Magic, Magic, Magic. It was just absolutely thrilling. And you know, obviously, my heart lies with Magic, but I've got a lot of respect for Hamilton Olympic FC, and at the end of the day, I just wanted to see, you know, I wanted to see a real event, and it was. And yeah, just after that was pretty. That in my mind, that sealed it. I don't think Olympic were going to come back from that. A poor back pass from Hamilton. I'm not sure who it was. He just absolute horror back pass, put Magic through on goal. Again, I don't know which Magic player got put through. I think it was Cale Bradbury. Nonetheless, it will get buried ruthlessly by James Virgili, punishing what was just a horrible error for Hamilton. They go down 2-1 on the night, which I think Magic will be happy with, not just winning the tie, but winning the night as well. And Olympic, I think it has to be said, their season ends in an all too familiar disappointment, and the trophy drought, unfortunately for them, continues. They've been, well, that's not to say they have been very, very good this year. And, even thinking back to the FA Cup, it was so close to them making the trip down to Tasmania to take on Devonport. They were beaten out by the Jaffers there, beaten in last year's grand final. Now they're beaten in the semi-finals. Continuous heartbreak, but I think it's going to build them stronger for next year. Obviously, they had Danny Ireland out. Couple of others too, Daniel Bird, I did see mentioned in the paper. But Danny Ireland, I haven't been around NPL this season, but I know that Danny Ireland's one of the best goalkeepers in Newcastle. And that being said, I don't think there was anything wrong with their goalkeeping. That just was not their day, and the one-on-one chances is very hard to save for anyone. Broadmeadow, I think, will need more next week against Edgeworth. And I know a few people have said that they were good, but I don't think they were good enough to beat Edgeworth next week in the grand final. I tell you what, though, someone who I've been a massive fan of continuously for 3 or 4 years is Josh Piddington in the defensive line for Magic. And I've seen Piddo play some really good games, even back when he had the beard and everything. One of the most, you do not... If I was on the field, I'd be doing all I can to get away from Piddington. He is just... Well, he's a machine. That's all I can say about Piddo. Absolutely incredible defensive performance last night. And I know here on Newysports, I don't talk about defensive performances very often because I'm not really defensively inclined. I want to see goals. That's what I'm looking for, is goals. But Piddington was an absolute rock in defence. That being said, Luke Virgili also made a crucial goal line clearance. Jaden Barber he's come from nowhere. I remember watching him starting to break into the first grade squad last year, and now he's just established first grader and quality player. And I think they had Canner out on the other side as well. He's very, very reliable. But Piddington, this was just his game, absolutely. And if you do go back and watch on Bar TV that vital goal that gave them the lead, well, not the lead, they already had the lead on aggregate, but their first goal of the night, the breakaway from Paulie to Cale Bradbury, it was headed away by Josh Piddington on one leg. He was limping. He is an absolute machine, and I've heard people say that, and I agree with that. I don't think there's a better defender in Newcastle than Josh Piddington. And I've been saying that for a few years. So he gets man of the match. Luke Virgili in behind that, and James Virgili as well, I thought was very strong. That is a question though. Piddington did limp, he didn't limp off. He didn't get subbed, but he was limping around at the end of the game. He obviously would have limped off the field at the end of the game. I don't know if he's going to be okay for next week. I'm assuming he will be. It's a grand final. He's Josh Piddington. He is a machine, just an absolute. And I've been in Magic training once or twice last year, and some of the drills he was running, he is just an athlete. And I don't think he'll miss next week's grand final. If he can do anything about it, he'll be there. But yeah, that's what I was going to say next. It was so good for the league, and obviously I don't cover NPL too much, but going to these 2 games yesterday and seeing players like Daniel McBreen, Matt Thompson, Dean Heffernan, Leo Bertos, James Virgili. These are all former A-League players. There are others, of course, and there are also players who played back in the NSL still going around. Just absolute quality for the competition to have these sort of players here. Leo Bertos, he looked really good on the ball for Hamilton Olympic there. Just amazing, like. And James Virgili trying, he's got a point to prove, and I think the Jets. I feel like his time at the Jets, I feel like it was sort of wasted. He didn't really get that opportunity, and when he did, I don't know if he took it well enough. But if I was at the Jets, I'd definitely be keeping an eye on James Virgili, and if an injury spot opens up or something, definitely keep his number in the phone book, because he's quite a weapon when he wants to be. So yeah, this game, this was absolutely amazing. The spectacle, the theatre, 10 out of 10. And I've never been to a Sydney Olympic or a South Melbourne game down, a big Sydney or Victorian NPL clash. But this was probably on par. I think there was probably 2,000 people there. Obviously, both clubs have got a big backing. There is that sort of, I'd sort of have to say it, there is that ethnic rivalry. Obviously, it's not as much these days, but there's still all the old boys. The Greeks of Hamilton Olympic, the Macedonians of Broadmeadow Magic. It's a friendly, they're a friendly bunch off the field. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing, there was nothing untowards, but I think that is a real passionate sort of old school rivalry, and it's just great, absolutely brilliant, and just, it was better atmosphere there than I've seen at Jets games for most of last season, and I want to say almost a better derby atmosphere than some of the F3 derbies I've been to in the last few years as well. There was just absolutely incredible last night, and I don't normally say this, but for anyone that wasn't there, it's your loss, because it was such a good night of football, regardless of the result. And really, I think I went to bed at midnight or something last night. Obviously, not last night, but Saturday night, New FM Grand Final Day. I didn't know where I'd get the energy from, because there was so much energy spent on watching that, and just the emotion, the heart rate. Edge of your seat game, and look, full credit to both clubs, because it was great. It was absolutely great. A real spectacle, and a victory for local football. Magic into the grand final, Magic versus Edgeworth next week. I mean, what a week for the Edgeworth Eagles. They've got the biggest game, I think it's their biggest game in the club's history on Tuesday night against the Western Sydney Wanderers. Obviously, they played Melbourne City last year, but Melbourne City, well, now that they've got Tim Cahill, obviously they're a bit bigger brand, but I still think Melbourne City are finding their feet as a powerhouse. Last year it was the Aaron Moy show, and he was still breaking in. He wasn't a solid, big name attraction. And I looked at the Wanderers team lineup, and with respect, they don't really. They got Nicola Topper Stanley and Mitch Nichols and whatnot, but they don't have a Bessart Berisha or players of that sort of calibre. Aaron Moy, when he was the top guy in the league, they don't have someone like that. That they do go in as favourites, and I believe they'll probably be too good for Edgeworth. They are the A-League outfit nonetheless. But I think for the Western, the reason this game is bigger, because it is the Western Sydney Wanderers coming to Magic Park, complete with the RBB. I'm just going to say, for the hell of it, there's going to need to be some sort of security presence. That being said, the RBB, I'm sure there'll be no crap. It's at the end of the day, it's a FA Cup game at a local venue. This isn't exactly an A-League derby or anything like that. But I think for Edgeworth, this is the biggest game in their club's history, because it's going to be packed at Magic, and you got the RBB coming up Western Sydney Wanderers, I think they're a bigger brand, a bigger football brand than Melbourne City are. I think they just, they were the Asian champions. I just think for Edgeworth, this is the biggest game in their club's history tomorrow night, or tonight, because this will be uploaded tomorrow. I don't even know what I'm saying. This might not get uploaded till after the game at this rate. I won't have the time to edit it, but nonetheless, biggest game in Edgeworth's history. And then on a Sunday, they got the grand final. Away to Magic. Edgeworth are the home team on the day, but they're playing at Magic Park, and that's a huge difference. If it was at Edgeworth, obviously, I'm still probably leaning towards Edgeworth to win it. I'll do a tip later in the week, but Magic at Magic, it's going to be tough for them. So yeah, massive week for the Edgeworth Football Club. And in my mind, it's the biggest week in that club's history. So we'll see how it goes. Back to Edgeworth, they hosted that NPL semi-finals yesterday, and they hosted, Saturday. I keep thinking it's Sunday night. I've been here, that was 24 hours ago. What am I doing? It was just such a big weekend that I have no idea. I'm lost at the moment. Let's talk about the New FM Grand Finals. This is what we're about here on Newysports TV. Obviously, the New FM is the feature competition here on Newysports. And I mean, I'm a bit sad that it's all over, but nonetheless, let's go through it. The under-17s, Lake Macquarie City free, defeating West Wallsend 0. I was building this during the week as the match of the day. I think it really provided a real clash and a physical clash, which surprised not just me, I think it surprised a lot of people for this age group for a physical clash. Highly competitive from the opening minute, neither side backing down from the challenge. A frantic opening, Lakes almost collapsing under pressure in the opening 20 seconds. They just got it all wrong. Not Callum Gar, but I think it was Preston Cunningham, the fullback there. He's gone for a back pass, and it's ended up with Jared Hayter. He got it to Josh Knight, and Knight got into the box, left Brady McRitchie behind the goalkeeper, and he just took it too wide for my liking. And you'll see here on the replay if it's there. If not, just go to the game and just watch the first 20 seconds and you'll see it. I think Knight should have hit it first time. In that situation, I don't know if he would have been able to hit it with his preferred right foot or not. And then even again, I think he should have hit it first time. That was the option. Curl it around the keeper, right foot. That's what I would have done if I had the ability to do that, to pick what I want to do. But then he got in behind, the goalkeeper's down, defenders are staggered. Jared Hayter's in a really good position for a square ball. I think he should have gone for that. Instead, he went for a tight angle shot that ended up going wide. So I think that chance there, it really should have ended up in the back of the net. For better or for worse, whether Knight hit it first time, square ball to Hayter, try to beat it, whatever. That was a really good chance that was wasted. And to score a goal in the first 30 seconds of the game in a grand final, that would have been absolutely massive for them. 2 minutes later, Knight could, we're still talking about that. 2 minutes later, it was on again. Westy had a corner. It would fall to Mitch Kramer, the midfielder. His shot would graze the crossbar and go out for a goal kick. Again, this could have gone in. This could have been 2-0 inside 2 minutes. And I know Lakes will probably say it wasn't. But it could have been. And it probably should have been. It should have definitely been 1-0. So Westy ruining those missed chances. We'll take a break and be right back because I'm going to go and have some tea now. And we'll be back to talk about the rest of the games and maybe have a better look at this banner as well. I think it's old. There's definitely some weird smell coming off of that. It's rubbery sort of. I don't know. It's a good banner. Might hang it up somewhere. Anyway, we'll be back very shortly. Alright, we're back. We're talking about the Under-17s Grand Final in the New FM First Division. 14th minute. This was another chance for West Wallsend. Some excellent play from Josh Knight. saw Westie's most dangerous attacker, Josh Knight, leave the Lakes defenders behind and get a quality shot away. He was playing really, really well in the first 20 minutes. Probably dropped off from there, if anything. I don't think he could have kept up that sort of quality all game, but he was just really threatening at times. Again, the Bluebells were denied by the crossbar. Josh Knight hitting the crossbar there in the 14th minute. And again, a perfectionist would probably say it could have been 3-0 there. At least 2-0 at this point. But it was 0-0. And I think Westie would have been punching themselves inside at missing all these chances. Lakes began to build some momentum in what was shaping as a very physical and entertaining game right from the get-go, as I said. End-to-end stuff, both goalkeepers busy. Westie's Josh Snedden in goals made a quality save just before half-time to keep it at 0-0. Now in the second half, Lakes, they came out firing, I thought, looking the better side through midfield, creating a lot of chances. And it was really a quality game. You know, I've only seen a few Lakes games this year. I've been talking all year about their goal scorers like Curtis McRitchie and whatnot. This was a game where I saw a lot of these other players that I haven't seen too much this year, and they played really, really well. And they didn't play well last week against Cahibah, and I don't really think they played well the week before against Cahibah either. They looked really, really good for the grand final. They saved their best till last. Kyson Brown got in behind in the 46th minute. Josh Snedden come out to meet him though and denied the chance. 3 minutes later, an attempted clearance from West Wall's end. Pardon me, I'm wrong. I have skipped a goal here. Westie had 1 or 2 chances at the northern end, a few corners, putting a bit of pressure on Brady McRitchie, but I was right behind that goal, and McRitchie's confidence in goal is on show. You know, they've kicked a corner and they've kicked it short, and he's just come out and grabbed the ball and just booted it downfield, pitch a perfect boot downfield. Good goalkeeper, and one of their best players this season in my mind. Probably not his busiest day today, but nonetheless, when he was required, he was good. Both goalkeepers, as I said, very good today. The goal would come from Lakes. Lakes captain Callum Garbutt in the 61st minute got the ball to Curtis McRitchie. He hit just a smashing shot, which smashed the crossbar and bounced, and it was headed in by Kyson Brown from probably a metre out. Now this, Kyson Brown obviously delighted to score in a grand final, but I think his celebration maybe a bit overboard for a headed sort of tap in. In my opinion, it was McRitchie's goal as much as it was Brown's goal, so both of them together I think deserve the credit there. McRitchie's shot was obviously the reason for that coming back and giving Brown the chance to head it in. Nonetheless, they've scored a goal in the grand final, so really that shuts the other team up. That shuts people like me up, saying that he shouldn't be celebrating just because he scored from 1 metre out. It's still a goal. Fair enough. 3 minutes later, this is where it all went down the drain. Oh, pardon me, not yet. I'm not doing very well tonight. 3 minutes later, an attempted clearance from the goalkeeper, or not from the goalkeeper, attempted clearance from Kai Drayton, I believe it was, the defender, was hit on the run with venom by Callum Garbutt. This was a great shot from Garbutt. Forced Josh Snedden into a quality save to deny the skipper and keep the margin at 1 goal. And then the telling moment of the 71st minute, Josh Snedden, all year best goalkeeper in the competition, and in the grand final he makes a horror mistake. It's so often the case in football. That's what happens. Kicked it, it went short. I'll be back. Alright, we're back here on episode 32 of Newysports TV. That was about an hour break, so I sort of forget where I was. I remember I was talking about the second goal for Lake Macquarie City in the Under-17s New FM Grand Final. So what happened here, the telling moment of the game, in my opinion, Josh Snedden, that's what I said earlier, Josh Snedden, a brilliant season, and this horror moment to really, it happens. Good players have really good seasons, and then grand final day, a mistake like this. A very, very poor, not a clearance, he just kicked it out of his hands and it fell really short, and it was hit audaciously from first time shot from Josh Patterson for Lakes, and it found the back of the net. Snedden did probably get a fingertip to it, but pretty much fell into the net with the ball. Not good work from the goalkeeper there, but this was some shot from Josh Patterson. Couldn't help but applaud this. This was absolutely brilliant, and that wrapped it up with 9 minutes to go on the clock. Lakes winning. Well, they'd obviously score again, but that was what really killed Westy, was that goal. And then with 5 minutes to go, the final nail in the coffin, if you will. Excellent pressure from Harry Taylor in midfield, forced a turnover, and then fullback Preston Cunningham put on the class to leave Westy players in his Rafe? I don't know. He was just beating players left, right and centre. Got it to Alex Matthews, whose left-footed shot was coolly taken, found the back of the net despite being from a tight angle. The final moments, bit of strange refereeing here. Fair enough, a penalty. Braden Shoemaker giving away that penalty. The referee gave him a yellow card and then gave him a red card, thinking he was already on a yellow. So I don't know how that happened. Braden Shoemaker doesn't really look alike to any of the other Westy players. I don't know. You can. I don't know how the ref did this. You know, it's not like they got two twins on the team or something like that. You know. Yeah, Braden Shoemaker argued the point, and he was rightfully kept on the field. 79th minute, didn't really matter anyway, but obviously he'll play. He won't be suspended for the first game next season, and he wasn't red carded. So some weird refereeing, but nonetheless, that's, you know, it was correct in the end. It was corrected. So the penalty, this is interesting here. Curtis McRitchie was the one who was taken out. Now the game was nearly over, so I was already behind, sort of near the tunnel there, and I think I was behind their bench actually, and I think I said something like, "Let Brady take it," being the goalkeeper, Brady McRitchie. That's really probably who, if I was in charge, I would have said goalkeeper can take it. You know, you're 3-0 up in a grand final, it doesn't really matter. So Cooper Verstegen was obviously thinking the same. The fullback didn't have the best game yesterday, I don't think. He had a couple moments in the early portions where Westy got around him, but probably the second half was better. But yeah, he's one of the few Lakes players who hadn't scored a goal all season. Lachlan Kerr, I believe, another one of those, looking at their stats. So nonetheless, Verstegen wanted to take it. Him and McRitchie, the old time-honoured tradition of scissors, paper, rock. Verstegen won it, and it was a fairly horrible penalty take. Chance to, you know, score first goal of the year in the grand final, and it goes wide, and yeah, not good. I think I would have rather see Brady McRitchie take this. The goalkeeper probably did. You know, they're both looking for their first goals. Verstegen, you know, probably if they train this week, maybe 5 laps for missing that one. Not good. Nonetheless, it doesn't really matter in the end. He would have absolutely loved to have scored that goal and scored in a grand final. I mean, can't get any better than that. Couldn't do it, unfortunately. Westy, I thought, dominated the earlier chances. Absolutely, just should have been up 2 or 3 goals on a different day. They would have been physical, entertaining. Both teams. It's really, really good game to watch. Westy, it wasn't a 3-0. 3-0 doesn't reflect the way the game was played. Lakes, too good on the day though, and too good this season. They've been absolutely brilliant. Man of the match, Harrison Taylor in midfield, solid. Very, very solid. Not the biggest player either, so did a great job yesterday. Kyson Brown with 2 and Josh Patterson with 1. Something tells me I think I've meant to put Patterson at 2 just because of that goal. I'm not sure. Anyway, we'll move on to the 19s. Belmont Swansea United 3 defeating West Wallsend 1. Bell Swans taking on an unexpected grand finalist in West Wallsend. Let's be honest about that. They got past Lakes in quite amazing fashion, really. But nonetheless, Westie showed up, and they had a mammoth contingent of fans. And I'll tell you right now, there are 2,600 people at the New FM Grand Final, which is absolutely amazing. We'll talk more about that later. Probably 400 to 600 of those people left when West Wallsend finished in the 19s, and they went back to Johnson Park and the Museum Hotel for the post-game sort of wrap-up celebrations, commiserations, and all that sort of stuff. Westie, if you're going to judge fans, the size, the passion, Westie won the day yesterday. And it just makes me think, what happens if Westie get into a first grade grand final next year or something? There'll probably be 1,000 or 2,000 people coming there. The whole West Wallsend will be there. Absolutely amazing crowd for Westie. That being said, there was probably 1 or 2 there that stayed back afterwards that I think were just absolutely way too drunk and just talking all sorts of crap to South Cardiff players in the 23s and Lakes, and there's idiots that do ruin it sometimes, but the majority, 99% of the Westie crowd yesterday, absolutely passionate. It was brilliant to see. An even start for both teams in the 19s. Fair amount of the ball for both sides. Better are the chances of falling to Bell Swans. That changed in the 20th minute. Matt Turner got in behind on the back of a pinpoint ball from James Barnes. Turner's shot connected the foot of Connor Bryson in goals. The keeper was sort of falling back, and he's sort of almost, I guess you could say, a bicycle kick. He's falling backwards, and it's hit his laces and gone back towards a goal, and luckily for him it went wide, or else I probably would have called it an own goal. This was good, actually. I had the media pass yesterday, so I actually had a real pitch side sort of view here. A couple of the corners that Matt Turner took, I was probably in the background of the video. Really enjoyed that close-up sort of action for the 19s, and then again for first grade later on. For Bell Swans, Lachlan McMaster from the 17s team, one of their best players in the 17s team. Really like watching Lachlan McMaster play, and he was forced off in the 23rd minute with a fractured wrist. Now I don't know. I went back and watched it on the replay here, and I don't know how it happened. Unless it happened off the ball or it happened earlier than what it looked. He ran into Greg Mason. They sort of collided a little bit, but I can't see how he could break an arm. They sort of just bumped into each other. That, if anything, that's probably where it happened. But unless he was carrying a broken arm for a minute or two, not good. But he carried on with it. Just went up to the referee, and his hands hanging down like this, and the referee said, you might have to go off. I think not good, but Lachlan McMaster, I think he was, dealt with it well. Just walked off and off to the hospital, I guess. I think he had surgery as well, so pretty serious injury there on the right arm of McMaster. So he was gone, but coming on was Aidan Hampton, who was definitely not any sort of a step down. You see some substitutes, and sometimes your good players, someone off the bench might not be on the same level, but Aidan Hampton definitely, maybe even better. And we'll talk about what Aidan Hampton did in the game. The breakthrough would come in the 28th minute. Greg Mason booted the ball downfield, literally just smashed it downfield, and fortunately for Westie, it bounced well, and Matt Turner got in behind, and he finished it coolly. You can actually see me in the background of this video. I'm holding the camera, and I picked up the camera because I knew as soon as Matt Turner got in behind, I knew this was going to be a goal. Very classy player. That lead for Westie lasted just 4 minutes. Bell Swans' Ned Gain found Aidan Hampton out wide, and a pinpoint cross was headed in by Will Dundas. All 3 of them left-sided players. Or Will Dundas obviously in the middle at this point, but normally he can sometimes drift left. So a lot of good work done there down the left side for Bell Swans, which it's been that case for a lot of times this season, the left side doing all the damage. And I can probably say that now that the grand final's all said and done. Hampton providing the goods. Will Dundas with the header, but as far as I'm concerned, I think Hampton has to be given, well, obviously Dundas's goal, but Hampton also a lot of credit here for the pinpoint cross. Very good. So 1-1 the score. Not long after that, Matt Turner in behind again. He was having a good day, but he just couldn't bury those chances, and it was proving vital. Bellswan surviving as Turner's falling shot would go just wide of the target. 1-1 at half time. The second half, Bellswans came out better again, and they had the lead in the 56th minute. A quality left-footed strike from Will Dundas smashed against the bar, and before he could blink, it was blasted in by Aidan Hampton. There they go, combining again. I'm not sure if Hampton hit this with his left foot or his right foot. I'm not sure. He might even be left-footed. There's a lot, Bellswans, this team, doing a lot of it. Dundas left-footed, and McMaster, who got injured. And I say that, I don't really pay too much attention to if a player's a right-footed player or left-footed, but Cooks Hill last year, the grand final team in the 17s, they didn't have one left-footed player. I think it's underrated having left-footed players on the left side, and you can never be quite sure. And of course there are some players, a lot of players out there who are two-footed, so I always take a bit of notice. And Will Dundas, that left foot, you can probably seal it in gold at the moment. This was a quality hit in the 56th minute. Of course, Aidan Hampton getting the goal on the rebound. Bellswans, they kept the pressure on, and Westy struggled to contain them. It was looking like Bellswans were going to get another goal, and they would. 10 minutes or so remaining, goalkeeper Matt Pennington produced a very poor goal kick, just like Josh Sneddon in the 17s, just an off moment for the keeper, and he was punished. Will Dundas, he headed it down. And if I get time to edit this in, if not, go to the 70th minute and watch this. Dundas just found a way to get past Cooper Smith and Callum Melville, and then a cool left-footed chip. If not for Josh Patterson's goal in the 17s, this would have been the goal of the day, because this was brilliant by Will Dundas. Probably the best goal I've seen him score this year, and I've seen a fair few. Then, with moments to go, a quality corner from Josh Anstess, the captain for Bellswans. It was headed in by David Swain, but it was ruled no goal due to a foul. I watched it on replay, and I can see where the foul was given, but I really don't think you can give that. It wasn't Swain that fouled. There was a Bellswans player. I think there was a slight push in the back of Cooper Smith, but I don't think it should have been a goal. Really, the keeper was beaten, ends up, it should have been a goal. Nonetheless, I tipped 3-1, so I was happy with the score ending 3-1. It's a little victory for the tipster. West Wall's End, their fairy tale comes crashing down. The second half, it all went wayward. Again, they had chances in the first half. They probably should have buried one or two of those extra chances. Bellswan grabbed the trophy in fairly convincing fashion. They were very, very good yesterday. Man of the match, Will Dundas. It was his day. That's it. That's all you can say. 3 points, man of the match. Matt Turner behind him for Westy. He was brilliant in the first half. Kept quiet in the second, and Cameron Lodge was very good today too, and it has been all year for Belmont Swansea. So that was the 19s, Bellswans. Congratulations to them. What a team. Absolute classy team. I did get an interview with Dale Robertson, the coach, but unfortunately the iPad was sort of in and out, so the whole interview was sort of stuffed up, which was unfortunate because it was a good chat. Good coach, legend of the club, Dale Robertson, and success for Bellswans in the 19s, and these guys really deserve it. And Westy, Westy, great bunch of guys as well in that 19s team, led by Evan Gardner, the coach. Great team, but Bellswans all year, they've been the team to watch, and the highest scoring team in any New FM competition, 85 goals this season, or some craziness like that, I don't even know, but they've scored a lot of goals, they've provided a lot of entertaining highlights, and you know, the picture I took at the end of the game was Will Dundas and Joel Nicholson celebrating together, and it's been Dundas and Nicholson the whole year. It's been a recurring theme, so that was a very poetic, fitting moment to end the grand final with that photo. But nonetheless, this team across the park, and a lot of them probably still eligible. In fact, next year it's going to be under 20s, so all of them are still eligible. There's definitely potential, and they stay together next year and they could do it all over again, in my opinion. Let's talk about the under 23s. Probably not going to be the longest review, because quite honestly it wasn't. It was fairly one-sided, if anything. The Lake Macquarie City, they entered as a hot favourites, best team all season in the 23s, no doubt. They were without Gabriel Serta, who I saw still in his club gear in the warm-up, just accompanying them over to the warm-up, and I thought, Gabriel Serta's out, so I thought, that might affect him a little bit, but it didn't really. He's a classy player, but they definitely had enough to do with they had enough players to do the job without him today, and he was very happy watching on. He obviously went out there for the trophy presentation. Let's talk about that later anyway. Let's not skip to the end. The only team that came close to matching Lakes this year was South Cardiff, but even then, patches for South Cardiff, up and down, and they did beat Lakes the other week, but that was a nothing game for Lakes. It was an everything game for Southie. Yesterday was a grand final, so I'm not surprised. The deadlock was broken in the 23rd minute. Captain Chris Walker for Lakes did well to find the wide man Nathan Ham. He squared it to Mark Fromson, who'd smash it home, and now this, I sort of had to just double check that it was number 3, Mark Fromson. The defender in the penalty box, scoring a goal, first goal of the season, a bit of nosebleed territory. You can't go wrong scoring your first goal of the year in a grand final. Big moment for Fromson there. Lakes, the better side in the first half, I think. Just Southie just not getting anywhere in the final third. They bossed midfield, Lakes, and caused some problems in the second half as well. Chris Walker won the ball well in just the second minute of the second half. Beat a few Southie defenders and slotted it past Dominic Fox to double the lead. Absolute class from Chris Walker here. And even more class shown because Matthew McCarter, no, I keep saying that wrong, McAteer, he was injured in the build-up going for the ball, sort of just clashed, went for the ball, and I don't know, the ball's here in 2 feet going. I think he just come out worse for wear out of that challenge. So he was down, and Chris Walker scored the goal. Lakes obviously celebrating. As soon as Walker spotted McAteer on the ground, he stopped his celebration and went over there and made sure he was all right, and as did the rest of the Lakes players. So that was an absolute classy move, and that's class from Chris Walker, and that's what the Walkers are like. I think any of the Walker brothers probably would have done that too. So, and I think most teams probably would have, some teams probably out there probably just would have carried on celebrating, whether it be ignorance by not looking over there or whatever. But he saw the injured player down, he went and stopped his celebration. I'm like that. I don't know. Maybe a lot of people out there would expect that, but I still think it's a classy move. So props to Walker for that, and well wishes to McCartier. I can never bloody say that right, and I never will. He's a good player, the number 2 for Southie. So it was his day over anyway. There in the 42nd minute, 2-0, and Southie they never looked likely of bringing it back from there. Lakes. Before the game, I looked at the team sheet, and I had a feeling during the week they were going to do this, and they gave a run to James Ward, Josh Richardson from the 19s team. So that was good to see. I think those guys deserve to play on grand final day, and they get the winners' medals. So good for them, really good for them actually. Unfortunately, the 19s were I don't want to say they were outplayed by Westy, they were outlucked on the day. Westy obviously getting the job done. But yeah, good to see Ward and Richardson get a run here. 7 minutes or so remaining, the Roosters free kick in a dangerous position. Nathan Ham, he stepped over it, sort of like a training ground sort of run, I guess. Hit very poorly by Kane Rogers, just into the wall. He got it back, beat one or two Southie defenders, and then Nathan Ham smashed it home. Good finish from Nathan Ham, but this was just horrible defending from Southie. And I've watched it back on replay, and I just have to say that I think it was just really poor defending. 3-0 is how it end. Goalkeeper Dominic Fox was Southie's best on the day. Unfortunately for them, they go down. And look, honestly, I'm going to have to say it was the worst performance by any of the 8 competing teams on the day. They just weren't good enough. Whether they played their grand final last week or not, they put 6 past Cooks Hill over 2 legs. And I think, if anything, it proves how bad Cooks Hill played, because Southie yesterday they were outplayed. And, you know, I don't want to sound harsh, but that's the reality of the situation. They didn't bring too much in the final third, and Lakes pretty much cruised to a 3-0 win. Man of the match, with 1 point, Matt McClaw. He's had a very strong season in midfield. Nathan Ham with 2, a player that over the last 3 weeks, getting to watch that team 3 weeks in a row. Really like the style of Nathan Ham. I'm still not sure on his age. He sort of looks... I don't think he'd be over 25. I think a very handy player and one to watch there. But the man of the match was Chris Walker. God, he led them well. The captain in place of Gabriel Serta. And yeah, those Walker brothers, they're all very classy players, and Chris did the job today. His goal was very good too. What a game for Lakes in the 23s. And you know, after missing out on first grade last week, the club obviously would be very happy with that success in the 17s and the 23s, bringing it home, the doubles for both of those, the premierships, the championships, and you know, personal feelings aside, obviously there's some people there I don't like, but nonetheless, well wishes for the NPL next year, because seriously, if Lakes don't go up, then I'm sorry, the system is a joke, and I'm going to keep saying that because they're going up. They deserve to, winning the premiership in every grade, like them, hate them, whatever. The success is there, the culture's there, the players, you know, there's, you know, contrary to popular belief, I actually do have a fair few players that I like at Lakes. You know, 17s team across the board, a lot of classy players. McRitchie brothers, I think 2 of the best players in the competition. The 19s team, Richardson, Ward, Teasdale, the goalkeeper, you know, his great attitude, just gets the job done. Some of the coaches there, very, you know, there's 1 or 2 people there that I don't get on with. And you know, that's evident, but whatever. It's a classy club, and you know, as I said, the Walker brothers, you know, I don't think there'd be a classier bunch of players than the Walker brothers in the competition. I was talking to Sam at the game yesterday, and you know, credit, because you know, Sam Walker, part of the first grade team, they didn't make the grand final, unfortunately, but he was still there supporting the lower grades, and that was good to see for Lakes, the support that they showed from the get-go. And it was the same for West Wallsend as well in the 17s game. And Lakes obviously stayed till the 23s, and I think it was a good day for the club nonetheless, and they'll be looking at next year and what they can do in the NPL. And really good luck to I really think some of those, the 17s and the 19s, I really want to see them go to the NPL and beat some of these teams like Edgeworth and Magic and stuff, and actually cause a stir. Because at the moment, you know, there were some Edgeworth players there saying to the Lakes players, you're not going to beat us in NPL next year or whatever. You know, I'd love to see that. Anyway, back on topic. We've only got 18 minutes left on this SD card, so we better hurry up here. There's a lot to get through here. This is first grade grand final review. Belmont Swansea 0, defeated by Wallsend FC 0. Not very often I get to say that, but Wallsend FC 4-3 on the penalty shootout. Let's go through it. Here we go. First of all, a mammoth crowd of over 2,600. That is absolutely amazing for New FM First Division, and it makes me very, very happy because, you know, it's a competition that I love and a competition that I follow. And obviously I was at the NPL on Saturday, and I get the quality difference, but I feel like New FM, a lot of times it is disrespected. It's, you know, it's not covered as well on Federation websites and the Herald and whatnot. Like, you know, that's my point of view anyway. So 2,600 people there, Bar TV there to commentate the game, and again, I implore you to go and watch this game, because I didn't know what they were going to do. You know, I knew that they were going to be commentating it, but I knew they didn't really know the competition. They didn't know the players. I tell you what, I learnt some of the stuff about the players that I didn't even know, and you know, they did the work during the week, messaging the clubs and getting some background on the players, and that's great. And you know, I didn't know that Teague Marcus was a big country music fan, and I know Teague Marcus very well. You know. So some of the stuff with Hodjo and the Bar TV coverage, absolutely top notch to the commentators and the producers there at Bar TV. Thank you for coming to the New FM Grand Final, and it'd be great to see them back at a few early season games next year before the NPL starts. Obviously NPL is their main competition, and they're doing a great job for that. So Bar TV doing that, and of course the Herald were there covering the game as well. So it was really good day for New FM football. You know, Northern New South Wales executives there watching on. The first half, I think we can talk about the first half in about 30 seconds. But first of all, I will say it, there was still a huge contingent. Wallsend, I think, had more supporters there last year. I just think it was a bigger event for them last year than it was this year. Obviously last year was the first GF win in 50 years. Bell Swans, just first grand final in 30 years. The hill was packed with Belmont Swansea supporters. I was standing next to the tunnel as the players were lining up, and you know, I was there. I saw David Reed, the president for Bell Swans. I think he was just sweating, waiting. You know, I think someone said, "Reedy, just calm down." And you know, you could just see it on the face of, you know, Brad Paul, Mick Stafford. They were very, very, I'm not going to say worried, very excited, and just they wanted to get the game started. And I looked through the tunnel. I looked at a fair few of the player faces, and for Bell Swans I saw a lot of nervousness from the younger players. Matty Ellis was one of the first players in that line, and you could just see that probably the biggest game of his career. And again, he's probably one of my favourite players in the comp. I don't think that's a secret. But then I looked over at Wallsend, and Chris Gazzard's stern face, serious look. And then I looked towards the back of the line, and Dave Hodgson's looked at me and just gave me a wave. And Hodjo, you know, the calmness he showed across the day, I think it was. We're going to be talking a lot about experience, and if you go and watch Bar TV's footage, that's all they pretty much talked about too, and that was Hodjo's main point. So yeah, the teams walked out, and I was nervous for both of them. You know, I've had a lot to do with Wallsend and Bell Swans this year. I was going for Bell Swans on the day, I'll say that now, just for the fact that it was their first grand final in 30 years. Wallsend won it last year. So they walked out there, and you know, there's players out there, Hodjo and Gazzard and Wheeler, you know, and then on the other side it's Matty Ellis, Sutton, Hall, Hadlow, and you know, I was nervous for Brad Paul and Mick Stafford, and my heart rate was absolutely pounding when those teams took to the field. I'll tell you that. As I said, the first half, any sort of pump-up feeling you're getting probably died out, because it was a typical grand final, cagey affair. Jamie Hadlow, a good chance, but that was about it. Yellow card for Dave Hodgson, and as soon as he got that, I said to the Wallsend, I was over on the Wallsend side at that time, and I said, he'll get sent off. And I said, you know, I know you don't want me to say that, but I think he will. He was lucky not to, but he didn't. Nonetheless, the second half, the game came to life a little bit more. Both goalkeepers seen off any challenges. There was only a few. A Joel Shearer free kick. I watched this one back on Bar TV today. This was a good free kick from Joel Shearer, the captain for Bell Swans. Saved very well by Luke Jennings. Very familiar to a free kick Maitland took yesterday at the same end of the ground that was saved by Jim Fogarty for Edgeworth. Some good goalkeeping over the weekend out there at Jack McLaughlin Oval. Nick Popple as well, also very busy, saving a venomous shot from David Hodgson. Josh Sutton looked destined to bag a goal. He was the main outlet today for Bell Swans. Also, of course, I'm going to say it, Matty Ellis in the first half. And I don't want to be biased because, you know, I really like Matty Ellis, probably my favourite Bell Swans player. But I even read the review today, and Brad Paul said how well Matty Ellis did at getting down the flank. But if it wasn't going his way, it was going Sutton's way, and Sutton did the much better job on the day. He was their best player today, Josh Sutton. Found the side of the net at that point. Bell Swans crowd went crazy, which I don't know why, because, you know, if they were on the other side of the field, but they were on this side of the field, they probably saw that it went in the side of the net, but they must have seen it differently from what I did. They went off their nut thinking they'd scored, but they didn't. The telling moment of the 90 minutes came with only a few minutes to go. Jamie Hadlow went down in the box. I've watched this back. At first viewing, I was all the way up. I was 110 metres away. I said penalty. On the replay, I'm thinking maybe not. And, you know, I listened back to Bar TV, and I think one of them said yes, penalty, and the other two said no. Either way, it was given. At the end of the, let's be honest, it was a very well refed game. Stephen Laurie, I believe, the referee. It's a great job, absolutely great job from the referee. And across the day, the refereeing I thought was very strong. Obviously, the best of the best getting appointed onto the grand final, and you know, they had the headpieces and in everything like that. The communication, so he doesn't have to look at the linesman. The linesman just says goal kick, and they give the goal kick. I really like that. Obviously, a very expensive system, but the referee did a very good job yesterday. So that was a penalty there, and with 10 minutes to go, I sat there, and again, you know, I said I was going for Bell Swans on the day, but in reality, I didn't really mind. I did end up back at the Wallsend pub after the game. So my heart rate went through the roof. I think Bell Swans and Wallsend heart rates went through the roof. This was the moment. This was the moment I thought, this is where Bell Swans win the grand final. Fletcher Price stepped up. He's been their main penalty taker this year. At first I thought, what are they doing? Like, why is he taking it? Why not Sutton or Hall or someone like that? And then I read the review today, and I didn't realise he's been their main penalty taker all year and hasn't missed one, so that's why he took it. And I tell you what, it was saved, but it was very well struck. It went down the middle, but he put it where he wanted it to be. This save from Luke Jennings, absolutely amazing. And what a goalkeeper he has been this year. And I said during the week, if you watch my interview with Nick Popple, the Bell Swans keeper, I said the keepers will probably define this game. And guess what? They did. They did. Luke Jennings here doing, you know, he didn't win it at this point, but he kept them in it. He went right, or to his left, and the ball went down the middle, and somehow he got a foot to it, a trailing foot, to deny Fletcher Price. And just amazing save, absolutely amazing penalty save, the drama. So for Bell Swans, I thought if anything, all the Bell Swans crowd rushed behind the goal. I thought that might have provided a little bit of a distraction. Obviously they're always going to do that, but Fletcher Price missing the most important penalty kick of the season, you can't write that. That's just drama. Extra time loomed, and then the last few moments, Chris Gazzard's corner was nearly headed in. I forget who did that. I think Teague Marcus. Oh, that's right. Heath Kepratis. I think I'm saying that a little bit better than what I normally do. He smashed it against the bar. Massive, great defensive defender sort of header, and then Tegan Marcus sort of just couldn't get a foot to it. And I'm a huge fan of Tegan Marcus, and I was at that end of the ground. I'm like, oh, Marcus, I went to my feet. I'm thinking Marcus is about to win the grand final for Wallsend, and he didn't get it in there. Just pure drama. And then I think, well, first of all, hang on, I'm trying to find where I'm up to here. Right at the end of the game, in the 90th minute, Tegan Marcus was brought down in the box. I was up that end of the field. I was probably 20 metres away from it, and I thought it was going to be given, and it wasn't. He was very theatrical about it, but there was a little bit of contact there. Would have taken a very game referee to give a penalty there. He waved it away, and extra time started. Wallsend's Mitchell Cook was sent off for a second yellow card. There was always going to be a send-off. There was a lot of players on yellow. Hodjo lucky not to be sent off. And I tell you what, Chris Gazzard, right towards the end of the game, he hacked down a Bellswan's attacker, second yellow off, and it should have been, and it wasn't. And I think it, because it's extra time in a grand final, we're 5 minutes, 10 minutes away from a penalty shootout, whatever. Gazzard should have been sent off here. Bellswan's also lucky probably not to have a player or two sent off. It was a physical game at times, but as I said, well refereed. Probably 5 minutes into extra time, not even then, like before extra time started, I figured we're probably going to penalties, and that's what it ended up as. 0-0 is how it would end. Bellswan's high defensive line, they pressed all game, they did a very, very good job, and they were the better team on the day. They had the better chances. Josh Sutton played probably one of the best games he's played all year. But Luke Jennings just in goals, and the Wallsend defenders, Mitchell Cook before he got sent off, and Keprates and whoever else they had there in the defensive line, just amazing job today, absolutely amazing job. The dreaded shootout began, and up first was Bellswan's Kyle Wilson, and I was sort of on the sidelines. I was watching from afar, and the heartbreak here. Kyle Wilson missing it wide to the left of the post, not taken very well, and just not the best of start. And the Bellswan's players were trying to console with him. He was just inconsolable, absolutely horrendous. Well, not horrendous, because he did what he could do. Not every time you can score penalties. The pressure maybe got to him or whatever, but absolute heartbreak. I'm sure everyone in the ground could feel that for him. Dave Hodgson stepped up for Wallsend, and we lease here, but if I owned a house, I would have put it on Dave Hodgson scoring a penalty. Just too cool, too calm. Hodjo always going to score, and shut up the Bellswan's fans, and lots of people putting crap on Hodjo, and he provided the goods once again, and it was a bad start for Bellswan's, and it would get worse. Luke Cook's attempt was saved by Luke Jennings. Brendan Nichols stepped up for Wallsend, made it 2-0, and it looked like it was game over. Timothy Schultz had a very, very good game for Bellswan's, one of their best players on the day in midfield, and he's been good all year, Schultz. He got on the score sheet. And then Tegan Marcus, I thought, here we go, Tegan Marcus. At that point, I think it would have been to win the game as well. Or almost pretty much all but win the game. One of my favourite Wallsend players, and his penalty attempt was absolutely horrendous. And that's all I'll say about that. So then Josh Sutton stepped up, and he was always going to bury it. He had a quality day. Trent Richards came up. He had pressure. He needed to score after Tegan Marcus's miss, and he put it up. He put it in. Joel Shearer was next for Bellswan's, the captain. Cometh the hour, cometh the man. Calm and got the job done. The fifth penalty taker. Perhaps should have been the first, I don't know. Interesting to see that Fletcher Price didn't take any penalties here. And then Wallsend, they needed to win it. This was to win it. Who else but Paul Wheeler? You could have anybody, you know. Maybe Hodjo would have been probably the only choice above Paul Wheeler. Experience. Paul Wheeler was never ever going to miss. Proved to be the hero. The keeper went the wrong way. Popple was diving early every time, I noticed. Wallsend into the history books. This SD card's about to die. We've only got 2 minutes left, so I'm just going to cut it short for a sec, go and grab another SD card, and we'll be right back. Alright, we're back. Just like always, Newysports TV going way over time. I think I had 1 hour and 40 on that SD card, and somehow we've gone over that. I mean, come on. That's what happens when I start talking about football. First of all, so Wallsend supporters mobbed the field. I saw a lot of faces from their 17s team, 19s team, and of course Danny Byatt, the general manager there. I don't think there's too many more passionate about Wallsend than he is. And it was absolutely brilliant to see them win it again. But I tell you what, I was on the halfway line. I was devastated, heartbroken for Belmont Swansea. I hate the penalty shootouts sometimes, especially when it's two teams that I've had a lot to do with this year, Wallsend and Bell Swans. A lot of players there that, you know, got friends in both of those squads. So, you know, now even speaking to Wallsend later, they said, you know, they don't really want to win it like that. That's football though. There had to be a loser. And I tell you what, Dave Hodgson, so yeah, Wallsend, they jumped the fence, and they were never not going to jump the fence. You know, Northern obviously will be complaining about that or whatever, but Magic or Edgeworth will do the same next week. That's football. I don't, you know, I understand obviously you can't have it happen every single week, but in a grand final I've got no problem with people jumping the fence and joining in as long as they're not violent or anything like that. That's just emotion, and any sort of rule book or federation that says otherwise can just, you know, I mean, what are they going to go and hand out $300, $500 fines or something like that? I don't think so, you know. And I think Northern probably do, you know, in saying that, they just said, could all supporters please, you know, get off the field, we need to do the presentation. I think they were fair enough about it. You can't stop it. But anyway, so Wallsend, those scenes were brilliant, but I tell you what, I was taking, you know, I was doing the photos and I wanted to get conflicting emotions, and I was going through, you know, taking photos of some of the Bellswan players just on the ground, just wondering how it all went so wrong. And, you know, it nearly makes me emotional now just talking about it, and I know that people out there thinking, you know, BS, whatever. I do have a genuine, you know, like of these two clubs. So Bell Swans, I was out there on Tuesday, and you know, Brad Paul and Mick Stafford, they've done a brilliant job this year, and it really did. It broke my heart to see at the end of the night, after everything had really settled down. I saw a shooter, Brad Paul, walking out of the change room with the, you know, big equipment bag in one hand, and, you know, team bag in the other, whatever, just dragging everything out with his head down. And really, it really tugged at the heartstrings there, just seeing that. Obviously, there had to be a winner. That's the unfortunate thing, but fortunate for Wallsend, I guess. But yeah, I tell you what, the first thing I did, I took the photos of the Wallsend celebrations, and I made sure to go over to Bell Swans, and you know, I had a quick chat with Brad Paul and Joel Shearer as well. I just straight away, you know, went over to Shearer, and unlucky mate, you know, that's what I'm like. And then, you know, even after the game, Matty Ellis, I had to give him a mention. He's had a brilliant season, and again would be up there as one of my top 3 favourite players in the comp who weren't wearing black and white stripes this year, and or green and black stripes, or any sort of stripes. Anyway, all that aside, yeah, absolute devastation for Bell Swans to get this far, 30 years, get to a grand final and lose on penalties. And what probably hurt the most was the fact that they were the better team on the day. And I've had Dave Hodgson's admitted that over and over and over. They just couldn't find the net, and Luke Jennings was just too good in goals, and the defenders stepped up. And the final third, it just wasn't Belswan's day, and it has been so often this year. And it gets to grand final day, and it's just not. That's football. Anyway, Wallsend. Wow, they do it every time, don't they? I tip against them, and they come out, they grind out a result. It's all that sort of stuff. I tell you what, after the game, we're waiting for the presentation, or did the presentation anyway. A few of the Wallsend guys wanted me up there on stage with them, celebrating the trophy. I had a Belswan shirt on with a Wallsend scarf to sort of show a bit of support for both. If I had been able to change into Wallsend, I didn't want to get up there in a green shirt. So, straight away I joined in the celebrations because, Wallsend, got a lot of respect for that club and the people there, and it was great to see. It wasn't a pretty game, and it was ugly at times, but that's the Wallsend way, and Hodjo would admit that himself. They just keep bloody winning, don't they? There's nothing else you can say about it. 2 years in a row that they've won like this in a grand final. Obviously last year they got the goal, but this year penalty shootout. This is Wallsend's way. Just grind out a result, experience, heart, desire, all that sort of stuff. I forget who it was. I think it was Tim Hines, the president of Khyber, said to me a few weeks ago that finals often aren't about who the better team is. It's about the will, the desire, the mental toughness. And Wallsend, there's probably no side with more mental toughness than Wallsend. And the experience and the confidence. And Dave Hodgson's been to, I think, 4 or 5 New FM grand finals now. He's never lost. So I think that has to be mentioned. Obviously has lost at NPL level. But this is a guy that's been in NPL finals. They've got Gazzard, they've got Wheeler, and I didn't know how many of these players had played in the NPL until I watched Bar TV's coverage. But Cook and Jennings' experience, even though he's still young, he's still got some experience as a goalkeeper, and just across the park, Kepretis, and just name them all really. Experience won on the day. And a shout out too, they brought Jack Lydiard on towards the end, which I saw his name on the team sheet, which surprised me. And I'm saying that he's a good player, but for a grand final, and with only about probably 60 minutes of first grade under his belt, thereabouts, big show of confidence for him, and he got on and he didn't really look out of place, I'll tell you that. So there's a lot to look forward to for Jack Lydiard. Great attitude as well, and as it is with Wallsend, that's the way that they are. And afterwards, so they did the celebration, and they come over the fence and did their team song or whatever, and I think it was Craig Hagan, the coach of the 19s, just said, let's all thank Ty for the job he's done this year, and I've got like 150 Wallsend players from every grade and all the fans and that clapping me. I just gave them a wave. I don't really do that. I don't do this for the whole massive applause at a game or something like that. I like getting thanked, so obviously it was good to see. And that's what I love about Wallsend. But in saying that, there was Southie yesterday were very friendly, and Westy, and even some of the Lakes guys, so Belswans as well. There's been a lot of appreciation this year, and I think we'll be doing some more videos over I've got 6 months off now or whatever. I'll be doing some more videos with season reviews and stuff for the clubs, and I'll be doing probably a big thank you video, because there's a lot of thanks to be given this season. It's been a great year here at Newysports. Obviously I'm not done yet. We'll talk about what I'll be doing next week. Well, I'll talk about it now. I've got NPL Grand Final next week, Zone League Semi-Final next Saturday, and of course the Zone League Grand Finals the week after. So there's still a lot to get through. FA Cup on Tuesday night, tomorrow night actually. When you're watching this, it might have happened. I don't know. I don't know when this is going to be uploaded. It's a long video. My apologies again. I just like talking about football. Real quickly, I'll mention apparently Bellswans did not train for a penalty shootout. I don't know if Wallsend did or not. They probably should have. But again, they were confident Bellswans, and it wasn't their day. It just wasn't their day yesterday. Neither team deserved to lose. I'm going to say that. There can only be one winner, and that was Wallsend FC, and went back to the Fire Station Hotel, just like last year. And unlike last year, I thought the celebrations were a bit more subdued. Last year, of course, was 50 years in the making. So there was a lot less people at the team pub, but nonetheless, you know, very, very happy faces, and a good chance to meet some of the players I hadn't really got to meet this season. I do enjoy getting to talk to players outside of a playing environment. You know, Paul Wheeler, I had a good chat to heaps of them. You know, Hodjo, Heath Kepretes, I can never bloody say that name. I'll work on that in the off season. Yeah, so many good people at Wallsend, and the success is really keeping them going, because it's not the strongest club, you know, in a coaching team sort of standpoint. There's a lot there that, you know, they've overcome some obstacles this year. You know, Rufo leaving, the points getting taken off them, and here they are, they're champions again. And resiliency that's the word that should be put up on the change room wall up the Gardens. Hell of a performance from Wallsend. Mental toughness and experience. There it is, that word, experience. Man of the match, with 1 point, Paul Wheeler. Absolute class. Just wheels. He's exactly that. He has wheels, and he just keeps going. And he along with Hodgson, along with Gazzard, and all those older heads, just so key for them. And Wheeler had a really good game, and of course got the winning penalty. 2 points, Bellswan's best player on the day, and I say that, but you know, Timothy Schultz was strong. The defenders were all very strong today. Matty Ellis did well before he got subbed off. Hadlow had a few chances. Hall was good. You couldn't really go out there and say that there was a player on either team that played poorly, in my mind. Bellswans had the better of the play. They had the better of the chances. They were the better side, but they lost on the penalty shootout. The man of the match for Bellswan, and the second best player of the game, was Josh Sutton. Incredible performance from him yesterday. And the man of the match, it would have been Sutton if not for the penalty shootout and of course the late penalty save. Luke Jennings, what a goalkeeper. What a year for Luke Jennings. Has just been brilliant. Over and over and over and over. Been the hero for Wallsend a lot this season. The defenders were strong as well. Cook, before he got sent off, he was having an absolute blinder of a game. Hodjo, Hodjo was Hodjo. He wasn't creating anything spectacular, but he was just there, consistently there. Gazzard the same, Wheeler the same. They weren't providing too many highlights, and the penalty shootout, I think, favoured them in the end, the experience and that. So that's that. Congratulations to all the four clubs. Lakes in the 17s and 23s, Bellswans in the 19s, and indeed Wallsend in first grade. It's been it's been a wonderful season in UFM First Division. And whatever happens next year with the restructure, I'm sure I'll be back in whatever the second tier is called, NPL2, whatever it's going to be called, I don't know. September 20th, mark down the date. That is the date I've been told. That's rumour going around when Northern are going to announce the stuff for next season. So for Lakes, you know, good luck in the NPL. For Southie, I'm going to say good luck if you get promoted. There's a couple other clubs that have been in discussions. We're not going to talk about that at the moment. I'll probably see if I can not knock things over in the background here, but this banner is very big. The Bell Swans banner. Might see if I take... In fact, I'm probably going to go out to Blacksmiths on Saturday for the Zone League free, so I might take that back out there and deliver their banner back to them, because they're going to need it next year when they're playing in the grand final again. I'll say that for their sake. So that is episode 32 of Newysports TV, the grand final episode. We'll be back next week with Zone League and the NPL, of course, the NPL grand finals. I'm really looking forward to that day at Magic Park. Then the Zone League week after, there's FA Cup. It's never ending here. A-League's coming up. Premier League's on. It's all happening. So, episode 32 of Newysports TV. I'm Ty Steven. Thank you for joining us for this marathon episode. I think it's going to be about 2 hours long, but that's what happens, I guess. Nothing I can do about that. I just keep talking. I'm not going to have a voice tomorrow, so we'll see how that goes. And of course, I'm going to take this Leicester City shirt. I'm not going to leave this sitting here. Good shirt, this one. That's that. I will see you in the next episode. Thank you.